From the very beginning of life, certain people move through the world, carrying a feeling they cannot fully explain. They walk into a room and instantly sense tension, without a single word being spoken. They meet someone new and somehow detect sadness hidden behind a smile. They absorb emotions, moods, and energies that do not seem to belong to them, yet they feel them deeply anyway. For years, many of these people believe this sensitivity is a burden. They wonder why they feel everything so intensely. They question why crowded places drain them, why conflict affects them for days, and why they often carry emotional weight that was never theirs to begin with. Society often teaches them to toughen up, become less sensitive, and stop caring so much. Yet no matter how hard they try, they cannot change the way they are. What if that is because they were never meant to change? What if the very thing that made them feel different was actually the clue to a much greater purpose? What if their sensitivity was never a weakness, but a rare gift connected to a mission that only a small number of people are meant to fulfill? And what if the pain, confusion, rejection, and emotional struggles they have faced throughout their lives were not random events at all, but preparation for something much bigger than they realize? A surprising truth begins to emerge when we look closely at the lives of highly empathic people. Many of them share similar experiences despite coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, and different stages of life. They often become the listeners that everyone turns to during difficult times. They frequently understand emotions that others overlook. They can sense dishonesty, emotional wounds, and hidden struggles long before those things become visible to everyone else. Yet one of the lesser-known realities about empaths is that their greatest challenge is not understanding other people. Their greatest challenge is understanding themselves. Many spend years searching for answers, trying to discover why they feel so different from everyone around them. What they eventually uncover changes everything. The qualities they once viewed as flaws often become the very qualities that allow them to transform lives, heal relationships, break harmful patterns, and bring awareness into places where confusion once existed. The story of the empath is far more fascinating than most people realize. It is not simply a story about being emotional or caring deeply. It is a story about purpose. Throughout history, some of the most influential healers, teachers, guides, and compassionate leaders shared characteristics commonly associated with empathy. They possessed an unusual ability to understand human suffering while helping others find strength within themselves. Yet there is another side to this story that few people talk about. Many empaths face periods of loneliness, emotional exhaustion, betrayal, and disappointment before they discover their true path. These experiences often shape them in powerful ways. The challenges become lessons, the wounds become wisdom, the struggles become preparation. What appears to be weakness on the surface often develops into extraordinary emotional strength beneath it. In today's video, we are going to explore the life mission that many believe only empaths are uniquely equipped to fulfill. We will uncover why empaths often feel different from childhood, why they attract certain experiences into their lives, and why their sensitivity may serve a purpose far greater than they ever expected. We will look at the hidden responsibilities that come with empathy, the mistakes that keep many empaths trapped in cycles of exhaustion, and the awakening moment that changes everything. Most importantly, we will reveal why so many empaths spend years searching for their purpose only to discover that their purpose has been quietly revealing itself all along. Some of the insights in this video may challenge what you have always believed about empathy. Others may explain experiences that never seemed to make sense before. And one particular truth near the end could completely change the way you view your own journey. So stay with us until the very end, because each part of this story builds toward a powerful realization that many empaths spend their entire lives trying to understand. The final lesson may be the missing piece that brings everything together. If you enjoy exploring the deeper meaning behind empathy, personal growth, emotional intelligence, and human connection, then you are in exactly the right place. Welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe and join our growing community, because every video is designed to help you better understand yourself, unlock your inner strength, and discover the hidden truths that most people never take the time to see. Now, let's begin uncovering the life mission only empaths were chosen for. One of the first life missions many empaths are called to fulfill is bringing awareness into places where awareness does not exist. This may sound simple, but it is far more powerful than most people realize. Many people move through life disconnected from what they truly feel. They ignore emotions. They suppress pain. They avoid uncomfortable truths. They distract themselves from problems instead of facing them. Over time, this creates a gap between what they show the world and what is actually happening inside them. An empath often notices that gap immediately. They notice when someone's words do not match their emotions. They notice when a smile is hiding sadness. They notice when a person says they are fine while carrying emotional pain that has been building for years. This ability is not always logical. Many empaths struggle to explain how they know certain things. They simply feel them. They walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks. They can feel when a friendship is changing before the friendship officially falls apart. They can often detect dishonesty, fear, resentment, or emotional exhaustion long before there is visible evidence. While others focus on what is being said, empaths naturally pay attention to what is not being said. They hear the silence between words. They notice the emotional energy beneath conversations. They observe the small shifts in behavior that reveal deeper truths. Because of this awareness, empaths often become mirrors for other people. A mirror does not create truth. It simply reflects what is already there. This is one reason many people feel unusually comfortable around empaths. Without even realizing it, they sense that the empath sees them, not the image they present to the world, not the mask they wear to protect themselves, the real person underneath. This can be healing for people who have spent years feeling invisible. Sometimes a single conversation with an empath helps someone recognize emotions they have been avoiding for a very long time. Sometimes an empath asks a question that causes another person to see their situation from a completely different perspective. Other times, the empath says very little at all. Their presence alone creates enough emotional safety for others to become honest with themselves. Yet this gift can create challenges. People who are disconnected from themselves are often uncomfortable around someone who naturally sees beneath the surface. Some people appreciate this awareness. Others resist it. They may become defensive. They may pull away. They may accuse the empath of being too sensitive or reading too much into things. The truth is that awareness can be uncomfortable. Truth can be uncomfortable. Many people say they want honesty until honesty forces them to confront something they have been trying to avoid. Empaths often find themselves in situations where they recognize problems that others refuse to acknowledge. They can see unhealthy relationships. They can see destructive habits. They can see emotional wounds affecting someone's decisions. Yet they quickly learn an important lesson. Awareness cannot be forced. People change when they are ready. No amount of insight can transform someone who refuses to look at themselves. This realization becomes one of the first major lessons in the empath's journey. Their mission is not to wake everyone up. Their mission is to carry awareness and offer it when the moment is right. There is a difference. Many young empaths feel responsible for helping everyone understand their problems. They feel responsible for showing people the truth. They believe that if they can just explain things clearly enough, others will change. Eventually, they discover that awareness is a gift, not a weapon. It must be offered with wisdom. Some people accept it immediately. Others reject it completely. The empath's role is not to control the outcome. As life continues, many empaths begin noticing another pattern. The people who enter their lives are often carrying deep emotional wounds. These individuals are struggling with heartbreak, trauma, loneliness, insecurity, fear, or self-doubt. They seem drawn to the empath's understanding nature. Again and again, empaths find themselves becoming the person others turn to during difficult times. Friends call them during emotional crises. Family members seek their advice. Strangers share personal stories with surprising ease. It can feel as though wounded people somehow recognize the empath's ability to understand them. This leads directly into another important mission: learning how to heal without losing yourself. Many empaths begin their journey as rescuers. They genuinely want to help. They see suffering and feel compelled to ease it. They see pain and immediately search for solutions. Their compassion is real. Their intentions are good. Yet compassion without boundaries often creates problems. The empath starts carrying burdens that were never theirs to carry. They become responsible for everyone else's emotions. They spend hours trying to fix situations they did not create. They sacrifice their own peace in an attempt to save others from discomfort. At first, this behavior feels noble. It feels loving. It feels selfless. But over time, the cost becomes impossible to ignore. Many empaths eventually reach a point of emotional exhaustion. They feel drained, overwhelmed, confused. They spend so much energy supporting others that they forget to support themselves. They listen to everyone else's problems while ignoring their own needs. They become experts at helping others heal while quietly neglecting their own healing process. This creates an imbalance that cannot last forever. Sooner or later, the empath begins asking difficult questions. Why do I always feel responsible for everyone? Why am I exhausted all the time? Why do I keep attracting people who need help? Why do I give so much and receive so little in return? The answers often lead to a profound transformation. The empath starts realizing that their mission was never about saving everyone. It was never about carrying everyone's pain. It was never about sacrificing themselves for the sake of others. Their true mission is much healthier and much more sustainable. It is to inspire healing rather than force it. It is to offer support without taking ownership of another person's journey. It is to care deeply without becoming emotionally consumed. This lesson can be difficult because many empaths confuse love with sacrifice. They believe caring means giving endlessly. They believe helping means fixing every problem. They believe compassion requires constant availability. Life eventually teaches them otherwise. Real compassion includes self-respect. Real compassion includes boundaries. Real compassion allows others to take responsibility for their own growth. An empath can walk beside someone during a difficult season without carrying them the entire way. One of the most powerful moments in an empath's life occurs when they realize they are allowed to protect their energy. They are allowed to say no. They are allowed to step back from unhealthy relationships. They are allowed to choose peace over chaos. They are allowed to stop rescuing people who refuse to help themselves. This realization changes everything. The empath begins understanding that protecting their energy is not selfish, it is necessary. Without emotional balance, their gift becomes a burden. With emotional balance, their gift becomes a source of strength. As they continue growing, many empaths start noticing another pattern connected to their past. Their sensitivity did not appear out of nowhere. In many cases, it developed during childhood. Many empaths grew up in emotionally difficult environments. The difficulties varied from one person to another. Some grew up around constant conflict. Some experienced emotional neglect. Some lived with unpredictable family dynamics. Some learned to monitor the emotions of adults around them, because doing so helped them avoid problems. They became highly aware of emotional changes at an early age. A child living in an emotionally unpredictable environment often learns to pay attention to everything. They study facial expressions. They listen carefully to tone of voice. They notice small behavioral shifts. They become experts at reading emotional signals because those signals provide important information about what might happen next. Over time, this awareness becomes second nature. What begins as a survival skill gradually evolves into extraordinary emotional perception. This does not mean every empath experienced the same childhood. But many share a common theme. They learned very early that emotions matter. They learned that what people feel often affects what they do. They learned that understanding emotional dynamics can help them navigate difficult situations. As adults, this awareness remains with them. It allows them to recognize patterns that others miss. It allows them to identify unhealthy behaviors before those behaviors create serious consequences. This awareness leads to another important life mission. Breaking generational patterns. Every family carries patterns. Some patterns are healthy, others are harmful. Certain behaviors repeat from one generation to the next without anyone questioning them. Fear becomes inherited, anger becomes inherited, emotional distance becomes inherited. Dysfunction becomes normalized. People repeat what they witnessed growing up because it feels familiar. They continue cycles they never consciously chose. Empaths often become the ones who notice these patterns first. They recognize unhealthy communication styles. They recognize emotional wounds that have been passed down for years. They recognize behaviors that create suffering. Most importantly, they begin asking questions. Why does this keep happening? Why do people repeat the same mistakes? Why do certain family dynamics continue across generations? Awareness creates responsibility. Once an empath sees a pattern clearly, ignoring it becomes difficult. This is where real transformation begins. The empath decides that the cycle stops with them. They choose healing over repetition. They choose growth over familiarity. They choose awareness over denial. This path is not easy. Breaking generational patterns often requires courage. It requires questioning long-standing beliefs. It requires setting boundaries that previous generations never established. It requires confronting painful truths. Sometimes it means becoming different from the people around you. Sometimes it means disappointing those who benefit from unhealthy dynamics. Sometimes it means walking a lonely path for a period of time. Yet this mission carries incredible power. Every unhealthy cycle that ends creates space for something better to begin. Every healed wound prevents future wounds. Every act of self-awareness changes the emotional environment for future generations. The empath becomes the person they once needed, the understanding person, the supportive person, the emotionally aware person, the person willing to confront problems rather than ignore them. Many empaths spend years wondering why life has felt so intense, why emotions affect them so deeply, why they seem to notice things others overlook, why their journey often feels different from those around them. Little by little, they begin discovering that their sensitivity was never random. It was preparing them for responsibilities that require awareness, compassion, courage, and emotional wisdom. But as meaningful as these missions are, they also reveal a challenge that many empaths never see coming until much later in life. As empaths continue discovering their purpose, they eventually encounter another mission that may be one of the most important of all. It is not a mission that receives awards. It is not a mission that brings fame or recognition. In many cases, people do not even realize it is happening. Yet its impact can change lives. That mission is teaching compassion in a world that often rewards the opposite. Modern life encourages people to move faster, compete harder, and focus primarily on their own goals. Success is frequently measured by achievement, status, influence, and personal gain. People are told to stay ahead, protect their interests, and avoid appearing vulnerable. In such an environment, compassion can sometimes be mistaken for weakness. Kindness can be mistaken for naivety. Emotional sensitivity can be mistaken for a lack of strength. Yet empaths bring a completely different energy into the world. They remind people of something many have forgotten. Human beings are not meant to survive alone. They are meant to connect. They are meant to understand one another. They are meant to support one another through life's challenges. One of the most remarkable things about empaths is that people often feel understood in their presence. This does not happen because empaths always know the right words to say. In fact, many empaths are quiet. They do not dominate conversations. They do not constantly offer advice. Instead, they create an environment where people feel safe enough to be honest. In a world where many people are desperate to be heard, this ability is incredibly valuable. Some individuals go years without feeling truly understood. They spend their lives hiding parts of themselves because they fear judgment or rejection. Then they meet someone who listens with genuine care, someone who pays attention, someone who sees beyond appearances. For many people, that experience is unforgettable. Empaths often underestimate how much their presence affects others. They may assume they are simply being kind. They may believe they are doing nothing special. Yet countless people carry memories of moments when a compassionate person changed their perspective, restored their hope, or helped them feel less alone. Sometimes healing begins with solutions. Other times healing begins with understanding. Empaths naturally provide that understanding. They remind people that emotions matter. They remind people that pain deserves acknowledgement. They remind people that compassion still exists even when the world feels harsh and cold. What makes this mission even more powerful is that many empaths continue showing kindness after experiencing pain themselves. This is where a common misunderstanding must be challenged. Compassion is not weakness. Compassion requires strength. It is easy to become bitter after betrayal. It is easy to become cold after disappointment. It is easy to stop caring after being hurt repeatedly. Many people choose those paths because protecting themselves feels safer than remaining open-hearted. Yet empaths often continue choosing compassion despite their experiences. This does not mean they enjoy suffering. It does not mean they are unaffected by pain. It means they refuse to allow pain to define their character. There is tremendous strength in remaining kind when life gives you reasons to become cruel. There is tremendous strength in remaining understanding when others choose judgment. There is tremendous strength in continuing to believe in connection when past experiences have created reasons to withdraw. Empaths demonstrate this strength every day. Their lives become examples that sensitivity and resilience can exist together. A person can be compassionate and strong. A person can be gentle and powerful. A person can care deeply without becoming weak. Many of the greatest transformations in human relationships begin with empathy. Friendships grow stronger when people feel understood. Families heal when people learn to listen. Communities become healthier when individuals care about one another's struggles. Cooperation becomes possible when people recognize shared humanity, instead of focusing exclusively on differences. Empathy creates bridges where division once existed. It encourages understanding where misunderstanding once thrived. It creates opportunities for healing that would otherwise never occur. Yet despite all these positive qualities, many empaths eventually encounter a problem that quietly undermines their growth. It is a mistake so common that countless empaths spend years trapped by it without realizing what is happening. This mistake does not come from bad intentions. It often develops because empaths care so deeply. They want to help. They want to heal. They want to make a difference. Unfortunately, these desires sometimes lead them toward a misunderstanding of their true purpose. Many empaths begin believing that their mission is sacrifice. They convince themselves that their value comes from how much they give. They measure their worth by how much pain they can endure. They feel guilty whenever they focus on their own needs. They become uncomfortable receiving support because they are so accustomed to providing it. Over time, they create an identity centered around helping everyone else while neglecting themselves. This misunderstanding can become dangerous because it disguises itself as compassion. The empath tells themselves they are being selfless. They tell themselves they are doing the right thing. They continue giving time, energy, attention, and emotional support long after their own reserves have been depleted. They tolerate unhealthy relationships because they believe everyone deserves another chance. They remain in draining situations because they feel responsible for fixing them. They carry emotional burdens that were never theirs to carry because they believe helping requires sacrifice. Eventually, life reveals a difficult truth. Endless sacrifice is not the same as purpose. Endless suffering is not the same as compassion. Carrying everyone's pain is not the same as healing. This realization can be shocking because it challenges beliefs that may have existed for years. Many empaths were praised for putting others first. Many were taught that caring means sacrificing. Many learned to ignore their own needs because focusing on themselves felt selfish. Yet true purpose cannot be built upon self-destruction. A mission that destroys the person carrying it is not a healthy mission. The truth is much simpler. The empath's purpose is awareness. Their purpose is understanding. Their purpose is compassion guided by wisdom. Their purpose is not martyrdom. It is not suffering. It is not becoming responsible for every wounded person who enters their life. The empath's role is to bring light into darkness, not to become consumed by darkness themselves. This distinction changes everything. Once an empath understands it, they begin viewing their relationships differently. They stop asking how much they can give before they collapse. Instead, they ask how they can help while remaining healthy. They stop measuring love through sacrifice. Instead, they measure love through honesty, respect, and balance. They stop believing every problem belongs to them. Instead, they recognize that every person must eventually take responsibility for their own healing. For many empaths, this understanding leads directly into the most transformative moment of their entire journey. It is a moment that often arrives after years of confusion, exhaustion, disappointment, and emotional growth. It does not happen overnight. It develops gradually. At first, it appears as a small realization. Then it becomes impossible to ignore. The empath begins recognizing that boundaries are not selfish. For years, they may have believed the opposite. They may have felt guilty whenever they said no. They may have worried about disappointing people. They may have feared being seen as uncaring. As a result, they allowed others unlimited access to their time, energy, and emotional resources. They gave because they cared. They gave because they understood suffering. They gave because helping others felt natural. But eventually they notice a pattern. The more they ignore their own needs, the more exhausted they become. The more exhausted they become, the less effective they are at helping anyone. They begin understanding that boundaries are not walls designed to keep people out. Boundaries are guidelines that protect emotional health. Boundaries create balance. Boundaries allow compassion to remain sustainable. This realization often feels like waking up after a long sleep. Suddenly, things that never made sense begin making sense. The empath recognizes that protecting their energy does not mean they care less. It means they finally value themselves enough to care wisely. Soon another realization follows. Distance is not cruelty. This lesson can be especially difficult because empaths naturally want to stay connected. They want to help. They want to support people through difficult times. Yet some relationships become unhealthy. Some people repeatedly drain energy without taking responsibility for themselves. Some individuals create chaos wherever they go. Some relationships demand endless giving while offering little respect in return. For years, an empath may remain in these situations because leaving feels wrong. Walking away feels heartless. Creating distance feels selfish. Then one day they understand something important. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Not every connection is healthy. Sometimes the most compassionate choice is stepping away from patterns that continue causing harm. Distance does not mean hatred. Distance does not mean revenge. Distance does not mean lack of compassion. Sometimes distance is simply wisdom. Sometimes distance creates space for healing. Sometimes distance protects peace. This understanding leads to the final realization that transforms everything. Protecting your peace is necessary, not optional, necessary. The empath finally understands that their well-being matters too. Their emotional health matters. Their dreams matter. Their happiness matters. Their life is not meant to revolve around fixing everyone else. This moment becomes a turning point. It is the point where the empath stops defining themselves through sacrifice. It is the point where they stop carrying responsibilities that never belonged to them. It is the point where they stop confusing suffering with purpose. Ironically, this is where their real mission truly begins. Not when they save everyone. Not when they solve every problem. Not when they absorb every person's pain. Their real mission begins when they finally save themselves. Because a healed empath becomes far more powerful than an exhausted one. A balanced empath becomes far more effective than a burned-out one. A self-aware empath becomes capable of helping others without losing themselves in the process. And that is why the life mission of an empath was never about carrying the world on their shoulders. It was never about endless sacrifice. It was never about proving their worth through suffering. Their mission is far more meaningful than that. It is to bring light where confusion exists, to awaken truth where denial exists, to inspire healing where pain exists, to remind people of connection in a world that often forgets it, to lead through compassion without abandoning wisdom, and perhaps most importantly, to demonstrate through their own life that sensitivity is not a weakness to overcome. It is a strength to embrace, a gift to develop, and a powerful force capable of changing lives in ways that many people may never fully understand. Before you go, take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed today. If you have spent your life feeling different, feeling emotions more deeply than others, or wondering why you seem to notice things that most people miss, perhaps there was never anything wrong with you. Perhaps your sensitivity was never a weakness. Perhaps it was preparing you for a purpose that only a few people truly understand. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt different because of your empathy? Have you experienced moments when your intuition, compassion, or emotional awareness helped you see something others couldn't? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience may inspire someone who is struggling with the very same journey. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future content on empathy, self-discovery, personal growth, and the hidden strengths that make you who you are. And if you know someone who constantly puts others before themselves, someone who feels deeply, cares deeply, and may need to hear this message today, share this video with them. It could be exactly what they need at this moment. Thank you for spending this time with us. Remember, the world doesn't need fewer empaths. It needs more people who are brave enough to embrace their empathy with wisdom, strength, and confidence. Stay true to who you are, keep growing, keep shining your light, and we'll see you in the next video.